Okay.
So, yeah, that's,
8,000.
One, two.
Okay, guys, welcome to the meeting. We had a little technical problems here. What? Yeah. Okay, welcome to the emergency meeting. I don't know what
Yeah.
I'm not used to doing this, so. Now we're gonna have a speaker from the East Shore. We also want to, we need volunteers to help run the AV equipment. So somebody could volunteer to help out doing that. And also we need volunteer for the park room. Rich is, retired on that. And, but if you have any others, two Saturdays a week.
Yeah.
Two Saturdays a month.
To say the most first two.
So take care of all the toys. I had a whole list of things that we got.
I think Dave McBride was gonna work on that toy move thing.
He died.
We'll see. I'll work on it.
Okay. Hey, John, what do you got for membership this month?
96.
How many did you get from the show?
I heard you can.
10 people signed up for the show, so that came off pretty nice. Is Walter here? Treasury report, yeah, where's Waldo?
Well,
Where's-
okay, between the certain and unrestricted, between certain and unrestricted, there were 17 pounds or something. And it's still a game, so 17 something. So, that's where the combined figure is. I believe the, weather treasury right now is about 5,000 something. Because we have about 7,000 in the grant fund that's money left, we did actually start buying some tools. We started using that.
Oh, I'm Dave Wayne, I guess I'm the president.
Okay.
Nobody else wanted it. Give it a big shot. I know how to.
I guess I got it right as well. The vice president for a month and then president decided to resign and I got the presidency. I'm not quite prepared for this. We didn't have the.
Mhm.
Okay, and then right after the break, we're gonna have an election for the vice president. They're gonna, the two candidates are gonna talk for 5 minutes. And we're gonna pass out ballots, only one ballot per person, no absentee ballots allowed. If you've ever here to vote. And then end it in the night, and probably get the results on the next meeting. Members only. Do we have any new members here tonight? Want to stand up and introduce yourself?
Sure. Paul Hamer, my wife and I moved to Mequon about a year ago from Northern Illinois. And vice president for the house in the Grand Virginia for some years.
By yourself or with you?
Mhm.
And we're pretty close.
Good evening, my name is Jay Held, and I retired about 2 years ago. My wife's finally giving me time to get out of the house and maybe pursue my own passion, so nice to meet all of you.
Yeah.
There's some guests in the crowd.
Oh, you guessed me, bro. Okay.
Hi, I'm Brian, work with John, don't have a wife.
Good for you.
Yeah, he's a bragger,
That may change one.
I'm a guest tonight, I'm, Jim Place. Hope to see you guys again.
And also, we do have a library open today. We are selling the used books. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm Lori, I am a wife.
Good for you.
I'm not Rose, but I'm sorry. Keep this in. Anybody else? Right here.
I'm Reg Sheeler, signed up as a member tonight.
Hey,
Hold up.
Here, I'm a good friend of Ron Higgins, been hanging around with him for 40+ years, so we finally got some of the ones, so.
There you go.
Okay, then we got the library open tonight. Yes,
One more.
One more, oh, sorry.
That's okay. My name's Bob Barbian. I'm a guest tonight. Heard about you guys about a month ago. Retired middle of last month. My wife told me to go to the meeting.
Can you try this again now? Anybody else?
Yes.
Here we go.
Ro bothered me to come. My name's Ron Roch. I restore buildings and have been a sole proprietor the last 31 years. And so I'm appreciative of the program.
There you go.
Michael Galliano, bro, invited me, so here I am.
There you go.
Anybody else?
Wow.
Okay, one more time here. We got the library open tonight. You guys are selling excess books that we got multiple copies of. I give you $3 for a hard copy and $1 for soft copy.
That is correct.
And take what you want, guys. You want
We've sold almost 50 already today, so. Jump in, yes, new members, everyone. We got it.
I said out here.
The freight truck out the alley.
Anybody else, anything else want to say, or any questions, or? Okay, so the gentleman's gonna speak, and after he's done, we're gonna have a short break. Come back, and you guys are gonna have a quick talking, explaining their point of view, whatever. Then we're gonna vote.
What about the, you have the bronze too?
Oh, that's right, you got the orange, you got the raffle. Okay. Make sure you guys buy tickets, buy a raffle. Tommy's lonely over there. But he usually wins all the time, so I don't know if the people are that.
And education.
He is, we're gonna educate you.
White.
Don't tell, yes, you got a few things over there. Well, I'm gonna turn it over to Tammy. And Mr.
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, you're on. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Now?
Testing.
Jesse?
Just wait a second.
Okay, technical. Hey, now
There
you
it is.
hear
I
me.
just don't
Whoa.
hold it too close and too quick.
Okay, don't tap it. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the meeting. You all chose a great meeting to come to because we have a wonderful presentation for you. I'm Tammy O'Connell and the Education Director. And I have become a member of the East Troy Electric Railroad as a volunteer. And I am enchanted with the railroad and the fine people that work so hard to make it work. It's a volunteer-run organization, and the East Troy Electric Railroad is in our own backyard. And so I am marrying up my friends from the railroad with my friends from the Woodworkers Guild. And I'd like to introduce you to several of them. Let's start with Ward, if you'd like to stand up. This is Ward Komorowski, and he is our president of the East Troy Railroad. And then we have Jim Fairhair, and Jim is our operations manager at the railroad. And our third key pivotal person is Evan Richards. And Evan is a man of many talents, as are these two other gentlemen, and he knows a lot about the railroad. Boy, he lives and breathes railroad history. And he has been a volunteer since about 9 or 10 years now, something in that neighborhood. 2016. And do notice his suave tie he's got on with the logo of the railroad. So anyway, I will let Evan get started. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. If you put it on your pocket, put the microphone in your pocket. Yeah, down there, lower the better, that's good. Yes. And try not to bump it.
Well, thank you for this invitation. I hope to talk about the railroad. What I had planned tonight was about 4 hours on. Wrap it up in less than an hour with questions, maybe a few words from these guys. But I want to talk a little bit about history, a little bit about our railroad.
Evan,
We have.
move it up a little higher.
How's that?
A lot better.
It's better. Okay. Some of what we have in our collection and what we do down there. Special events. And then our hidden agenda, which is not hidden at all, is to maybe get you so interested in the history and everything else, you can see opportunities for all kinds of really good woodworking. Now, I'll show you a couple of easy projects that you started toward the end. Yeah, well, wait till you see it. Okay, are we
Set up. Go ahead.
Let's see. So, we want to understand the history of electric railroads, and what we mean by that is streetcars, interurbans. We'll talk more about what those are. And there were actually electric real freight and passenger railroads, and there still are. That's what we mean by electric railroads. And how did they get started? Well, when cities started to get to the size where you couldn't walk from where you lived to where you worked necessarily, but the 1820s, they started having what they called streetcars, or basically stagecoaches on the streets. A lot of cobblestone and woodblock streets and brick streets and all that kind of thing. So you can imagine what a wonderful ride that was. So eventually they laid rails in the street to give you a little smoother ride. And that went on until about 1870s or so. There were two problems with these horse cars. Well, at least two problems. One, that's how the journalists of the time thought, as far as the pleasantries and the ambience of riding in these things. But you had for each animal 10 to 20 pounds of
Fertilizer.
yeah, every day. And in Milwaukee, they had, what was it? The number of 640 at one point, animals running the cars. And so that gets to be about 10 to 20 tons. in a very short time. And you get this every day and every week. So there's a lot of crap that you had to deal with. Horse car. But the coup de grace was in 1870, there was a disease that, a horse epidemic. It was the equine epizoic. And so the horses were dying and that was motivation for something else. Well, that just happened a little too early for the electric age. And the thing that superseded oops, wrong way. The horse cars were cable cars. You're all familiar with how that started in San Francisco with Halliday and seeing the horses struggle up the hill. Actually, one of the largest systems anywhere was Chicago. And here's State Street in Chicago on Chicago Day. We have a Chicago Day. They had a Chicago Day at the World's Fair in 1893. And these folks are riding on cable cars. You can see the slot in, well, it's hard to see it, but they are cable cars. Well, you can imagine you have this slot under the street and you got pulleys and this wire rope, this cable running kind of a short distance. These are very expensive to install and a nightmare to maintain, especially when you got snow and ice and all that sort of thing. So fortunately, about the time of the World's Fair in 1893, you had the convergence of three really important things. Getting a motor to actually move a streetcar, a horse car. That was a traction motor, fellow by the name of Sprague invented that. And you had, well, how do you get power from? Well, you had this big AC/DC war going on between Westinghouse and Tesla versus Edison. But the fact was you can't really distribute DC very far. And Westinghouse was trying to show how a dam at Niagara Falls could actually power Buffalo. Gee, a whole, what, 30 miles away. Well, this was just about the time of the 1893 World's Fair, and Edison and Westinghouse were going tooth and nail. Well, Westinghouse made the point by showing that it could be done, that you can distribute power over long distances. You have high voltage. The losses in the power line are the square of the current times the resistance. So you lose pretty fast. If you can raise the voltage way up, then the current goes down and you can minimize the losses. That's why you have high voltage transmission lines. Plus you have, transformers work in AC. You can change the voltage by how you build the transformer. So all that stuff was just coming in to play at that time. And Westinghouse won the contract for lighting the World's Fair. Edison was a competitive bidder, did way high. And the people in Chicago thought they were getting ripped off. Westinghouse had a competing bid. Edison underbid that, which only convinced the people in Chicago that Edison was really ripping them off. If he could do it for this, why did he tell them? Okay. So Westinghouse got the bid down there. And they built what they called the Intramural Railroad at the fair, which was the first instance of a electrically powered transportation system, and it worked great. And right after that, the Chicago L started using it. Well, and so it exploded. Now there was this other invention about the same time that'll never amount to anything, in our opinion. Whoops, don't want to bump that. The internal combustion engine, trust me, it's doomed. Okay. So we've been through this very short period in history where the internal combustion engine appears to be winning. But have you bought a hybrid car or electric car? What do they talk about in your owner's manual? Traction motor, regenerative braking. guess what? All these technologies came together back about World's Fair 1893 time to give us interurbans and streetcars. So it's old technology. It's just been refined. Now we're using it in our cars, and that we know it's gonna work great. So don't worry about the future when we really shouldn't be using internal combustion engines. We'll be fine. We were fine with interurbans and streetcars. Well, the other problem with automobiles is roads. Some people think the state of Wisconsin hasn't progressed much. But I don't want to get into politics. Anyway, this was, cars didn't really take over much for transportation outside of cities in 1893, early part of the 1900s, because they just weren't paved roads. They weren't all-weather roads. But we started to see, what have we here up on the top of the hill? An interurban. These streetcars worked so well in the cities, they started building lines between cities, interurban. So those were intended to be higher speed for longer journeys. And it really changed, and it got to be quite a fad. My goodness, we had, this is a map that came out in 1916, Interstate Electric Railroads. You can see up there, well, there's all these interurbans east of Chicago and in Indiana. Down in Illinois, you've got the Illinois terminal system down there in the middle of the state. We're up, the Milwaukee Electric was centered around Milwaukee, and that was a 200-mile system. And at its peak, there's a map from the, I think it's the 1929 timetable. There were lines north to Sheboygan. That was actually built by another company, but Milwaukee Electric bought it, operated it. To Sheboygan, west of Watertown, the idea was they were going to connect up Madison. I lived near Madison. That never happened. And Madison actually is the largest city, they claim, in the Midwest that did not have an interurban. They planned to do it. They had some track laid, but it never came to pass. The line to Madison stopped at Watertown. They were going to have a line down to Beloit. Well, in 1907, they got as far as East Troy, and there was a big panic, financial mess. And that's where they stopped. In the meantime, that dreaded internal combustion engine kind of caught up. And so the ultimate destinations for a lot of these lines never made it. East Troy, that was going to be Beloit, maybe Janesville, the branch. The Burlington branch was intended for Lake Geneva. Lake Geneva had a lot of strikes against that line. The Chicago swells were not interested in having a lot of people from Wisconsin coming down there. So, what's your problem? Anyway, so we had this wonderful system in around Milwaukee, about 200 track miles, and it was all centered on the public service building in downtown Milwaukee, 3rd and Clyburn. Yeah. When it was built, it was the largest interurban terminal in the world. That Indianapolis eclipsed it very soon afterwards, but that building is still there. And if you look up the little concrete decorations, you'll see streetcars and interurbans. It's quite a facility. Ground floor was the interurban terminal. It's now We Energies headquarters. Well, here's a timetable. I don't expect you to read it. The early days, you could actually get from East Troy to Milwaukee in less than 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours, and about every 2 hours. So that's something brand new. You could go when you wanted, you could get back. The steam railroads out that way, like the Sioux line, they only had like 3 trains a day, so and I wasn't gonna get you to Milwaukee. So, big change in life for everybody. Not only could you get into the big city or the next city, traveling salesmen could get a lot more calls in. It really changed life. It also changed life. They had this power generating capacity to run these interurbans and streetcars, but they didn't need all of it. And people started using it for lights. And then there were a lot of other things that people didn't realize they needed. But you know how if you do good marketing, you make people understand that they really have to have something. So Milwaukee Electric was just amazing at that. In this public service building, big auditorium, and there are pictures of 1,000 housewives in there learning how to cook on a new electric device. Interurban brought us so many things, all these conveniences. Also brought us the church supper. Okay. I'm gonna sell this now. You're all from Wisconsin, right? You understand. Have you ever been to a church wedding reception, a funeral dinner, a church supper, and without a Nesco in sight? You have not, have you? Okay, you know why, how Nesco got going? Well, National Enamel Stamping Company, they invented this new electric appliance, so you could heat food and all sort of stuff. And they sold, not too many. The first year it was out. The next year, they made a deal with TM, the Milwaukee Electric Railway and Light Company. They had deals where you could buy this stuff on your electric bill and pay for it in installments. And they would, actually teach you how to use it. Your housewife would get a bargain ticket to go downtown and see this thing. So, the next year they found thousands of them. And that's why they got so ubiquitous around here. I rest my case. Church supper brought to you by the internet. Okay. By the time the peak speed that you could get from East Troy to downtown Milwaukee, and if you could read those fine numbers on my eye test up there, it's 1 hour. That's when they completed the rapid transit line that went from close to downtown out through Hales Corners and that line. And the Burlington, Watertown, and East Troy lines used the rapid transit. It was just part of a huge system, streetcars, buses in Milwaukee. This is hard to see, but if we look in a little closer, that red line up at the top and then on the left side, that is the rapid transit line. And when I was a kid, I lived right here on 90th and Schlinger, right there. And my mother, well, we didn't have a car. This is before our car was 1949. It was my dad's new car. So 47, 48, I can remember this. My mother would go downtown on the interurban. And what she liked to do, she started walking down to 84th Street and then taking a bus and transferring to interurban. Mom, don't. It's all that messing around, transferring and everything. Much easier to walk out here and just get in the interurban. It's a further ride. That was my agenda. I talked her into it. So that's what we did from there. A little longer ride. Anyway, the interurban, this is one of the final timetables. They reduced the service. The time got back to like 1 hour and 20 minutes. Anyway, 1907, the interurban got to East Troy. They ran interurbans until 1939. And then they abandoned from Hales Corners to East Troy and Burlington. But the village of East Troy objected. They went to a public service committee hearing in Waukesha to object to the abandonment of the interurban. It's necessary. We need it. We use it. You can't do this to us. And the commissioner said, how'd y'all get here? They drove. So their case was, well, actually, they then focused on, okay, we need the freight. We're getting carload interchange freight from the Sioux line in Muckwonago. We got a lot of industries in East Troy that need it. So the railroad said, fine, we'll sell you the whole thing. Few cars, everything. And they did. That's what saved the railroad. So the village of East Troy operated it just for freight service until about 1995. Meanwhile, back in 1972, a bunch of trolley enthusiasts realized, oh my goodness, there's a place we could operate our trolleys, the interurbans. And they made a deal with the village, operate them on weekends. And that started in 1972. And we had our 50th anniversary a couple of years ago. So we've been operating trains down there longer than TM did. So,
And we have an ESCO.
You gotta know,
yeah.
just one.
So what have we got there? Well, it's an original interurban line. And a lot of it is original. The trolley wire is original. A lot of our rails are original. Ties are not original. Well, some of them look like they are. But it's a maintenance challenge. And we have a fine collection of cars. We'll get into that. And in addition to our regularly scheduled service, we got special events. We start with bunny trains before Easter. And we have Halloween trains that season. And we've got Christmas trains, Santa trains. In addition to that, we've got dinner trains, both scheduled and charters. See a lot of guys in this audience. I see a lot of potential for, you kind of do something that gets you in trouble. Guaranteed way to get out of trouble, take your significant other on one of our dinner trains. I'm just trying to help here, just trying to help. Oh, we've got a great caterer. I'll more about that. Anyway, we run these, it's about 6 miles where we run from Indian Head Park and Muckwonago down to East Troy. We're mostly a volunteer organization. We have over 100 volunteers. Rolling stock, that's I put an asterisk there about how many are in service. That varies. It kind of depends on how they feel. It's more than 100-year-old railroad, 100-year-old cars being maintained by 100-year-old guys. Lucky we move it all. But anyway, no, it's our ridership got up to, before COVID, 24,000. And then it tanked, had no ridership there for a year. And now we're inching back up again. We're almost to the pre-COVID level. Not quite, but probably getting more back to normal than a lot of museums and a lot of nonprofit organizations. So, like I said, we have our regularly scheduled trains Saturday and Sunday between April and October, and we had Fridays during the peak part of the summer. Like I say, dinner trains, special. Oh, we have special days: Chicago Day, Milwaukee Day, Railfan Day. We try to operate everything that will run and that we have people run. So that if you come out on those special days, you can see and experience a lot of different rolling stock. And we do charters. Boy, if you want to be the coolest parents or grandparents in the world, a birthday charter on the train? Oh, can you imagine that? Wow. Yeah, or special events. Anyway, I'm gonna talk about some of my favorite cars. This is one of our newer restorations, a North Shore car, number 761, was built in 1930 and served the North Shore line, Milwaukee to Chicago, until the end. In fact, we know it operated on the last day, January 20th, 1963, a day that will live in infamy. Anyway, that we have it in silver liner colors, which it did carry in its later days. North Shore Line was competing with with the big railroads, with the stainless steel fluted side cars that just look so great. They couldn't afford new equipment. And somebody got the idea, that's a flat piece of steel. When you come out, you can just convince yourself. Some people standing right next to it, oh, that's not flat. Yes, it is. That's just a paint job. Isn't that amazing? Here's another favorite of mine, a Sheboygan car number 26. That ran between Sheboygan and Elkhart Lake between about 1908 and 1930, when it was sidelined for other newer interurbans. That is something that was required by municipal ordinances in a lot of places throughout the country. And the problem is, these cars, they were interurbans, they operated in private right of way out in the country, but in towns, namely Sheboygan, Sheboygan Falls, Kohler, and Elkhart Lake, and so on, Plymouth, you were on the streets. So there were people out there, whatever. If you fall into that thing, it'll catch you. It's a little basket, just sort of. Now, you can imagine, well, that'd be kind of unpleasant. But compared to what? So, yeah, you would survive. You'd be embarrassed, but this car was restored. It was a summer cottage for a long time up Lake Michigan, but it's got really artistic touches to it. This is opalescent glass in the windows. When they restored that car, they found the company in Indiana that makes that. It's still in business. It's still in business now. They're a supplier to Tiffany, always have been. They could order the same window. They got the wood from the right place in Indiana where they grew this stuff, spacing on the name of the wood now. So they got the right wood for the interior. Just almost forgot, I'm talking to woodworkers, I better. Get there. Be careful here.
Yeah, be careful.
Yeah, but they just did an amazing job on this, and we are so lucky to have this car. I love running it, and 761 and 846. Milwaukee streetcar, one of the few surviving Milwaukee streetcars in existence.
Yeah.
And it's one. Well, they had 100 of these and 100 in the 900 series. This is 846. They bought 100 of those, 800 series. In about, that was 1920. And the point they were trying to make with these cars is we can run with one person. And all of the regulatory bodies at that time said, no, you can't. No. You gotta have two to be safe. They showed it was actually safer with one. They had better service. They could apply, have more cars running. And everybody, they proved it. So this was a big advance for Milwaukee, and really the rest of the journals at the time report, yeah, Milwaukee's shown this and they won this fight with them, blah, blah, blah. And so it was quite the car. It has great memories for me because I took streetcars like this to the Braves game. Yeah, buddies and I catch one of those.
And the Wells Street Bridge.
Yep. Yep, they called it the viaduct.
Yeah.
Yeah, although I was riding from Wauwatosa down to 52nd Street and then down to the stadium. A little history, one reason that you have history museums is that if you're gonna understand the future and where you came from, you've gotta understand history. So let me tell you a little important history. That streetcar brings it to mind. 1957. Jim's heard this before. About 400 times.
$3.99.
The Milwaukee Braves were getting into the possibilities of winning the pennant. A buddy of mine and I who followed baseball very closely were looking, hey, they're gonna win the pennant sometime week. And so we were talking smack. We're gonna go to the games every night, and parents came, oh, no, you're not. No, you're not going to games on the school night. You guys pick out the night. If you're such baseball geniuses, pick out the night they're gonna clinch the pennant. You can go that one night, just that one night. Boy, did we work the numbers, man, motivation for learning math, oh. So we went that night. We went down there, got our bleacher tickets for like 75 cents or whatever they were. Game is tied at the end of 9. Goes to the 11th inning. Braves get a person on base. Hank Aaron comes to the plate. Do you know, by the way, what the temperature was on the field at County Stadium that night in 1957 when Hank Aaron, it was September, right? September? It was 44 degrees.
Hank Aaron's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I can still see that ball. I get choked up going over the center field fence. Milwaukee went crazy. We got in the streetcar, we went back home really happy. I said, Dad, we gotta get series tickets. Yeah, right. You can get in the lottery if you want. I'll write a check. Okay. We scored. You got series tickets. Yay. We could go to the World Series on the streetcar. And we did. Wow. It was so much fun. Center field bleacher tickets for the World Series. Every time the Yankees took the field, we were all singing M-I-C-K-E-Y. Mickey man. Okay. All right. Braves won that series. What a thrill. Next year, they won the pennant again, played the Yankees. But in April of 1958, the last streetcars ran in Milwaukee. You could not ride the streetcar to the ballpark. Braves got a 3-1 advantage in the series over the Yankees and then lost the next. Terrible. No streetcar, no series. Fast forward 1982. The Brewers get into the series with the St. Louis Cardinals. You know what happened? You know there was no streetcar. Okay, now you can quibble about the number of data points, but you can't quibble about the correlation. It's 100%. You got a streetcar that takes you to the ballpark, you win the series. If you don't, you don't. We must learn from history.
Yes.
Okay? All right. How am I doing?
Great.
Yeah. And we also have this beautiful Minneapolis streetcar. Not too many of those in existence because when they went out of business, they wanted to go out of business quickly. So they rapidly destroyed as many as they could. So not many saved. We've got a wonderful collection of South Shore interurban cars. And Mr. Firearm is down on the step there. That was a night photo shoot that we had going on. 2 of our South Shore cars are reconfigured to be dining cars. Here's one of our more fun cars that was built in 1975. That's a recreation of a car, the type of car that was popular in the turn of the 1900s to the 18 to the 1900s. Popular, well, in this part of the country, mostly in the summertime for understandable reasons.
Serve beer on that car?
No,
But they don't search.
Good call.
here's a lot going on down at Army Lake where we're meeting trains on a kind of a busy day. That one on the right there is a Chicago elevated car. We got 3 of those. Here's our open car passing the Minneapolis car and then meeting the Sheboygan Interurban or it's kind of a pleasant scene with those 2 cars. Now this is those 2 cars were both built by the Cincinnati Car Company, the 1924, 24 Interurban. So very short time there, you can see that how rapidly this electric railroad technology evolved, 1908 to 24. We have other South Shore interurbans. This one is hadn't been remodeled with the big windows and so on. One of the favorite things I think we all enjoy is school charters. You get a bunch of kids that just, I mean, what could be better than a train ride instead of sitting in school? So they just love it. They usually involve a stop at the park for lunch. But here's my nomination of one of the, I would say this teacher, she's the gal in the blue blouse there. They come down and ask for car 26 fairly regularly. She teaches a unit of history, which is required, I think, in the 4th grade. You teach some Wisconsin history. Well, she gathered up a lot of information about car 26, where it ran and its restoration. And this group of kids, I mean, I have no fear talking to adults, but you have to have your A+ game for these guys. They ask really good questions. Plus, they just enjoy the trip so much. So we have, in addition to school groups, we get the rail fan groups. This is the National Railway Historical Society. And we notice how we set up the sun angle for them, so they get their photo shoot there, nice angle. This is a group that at the end we took a group picture, and we even did kind of a nod to a fairly famous photo that's in the book. This is the last trip into Milwaukee, and the crew they're carrying the headlight and the marker lights, so we sort of re-staged it there with headlights and marker lights for the Historical Society. They came another time. This is the dust jacket for the Bible of Milwaukee Electric. It's TM, not Transcendental Meditation, but the Milwaukee Electric Railway and Light Company. So that's on the dust jacket, and we set them up on our transfer with something fairly similar. Here's our our dining car. We try to serve an extremely good meal, well served. Got a great caterer. People love it. Man, don't you just get hungry looking at that? And then the revenuers came along and they said, well, wait a minute, you guys, you should be reporting this income revenue that you're making for unrelated business income. And we say, no, contraire, our friends. It's not unrelated. Here's dining car on the this is the Milwaukee. Yeah, This was on the Milwaukee Electric between Milwaukee and Watertown. Well, they ran diners between Kenosha and Watertown. Not for very long. They weren't very successful because first of all, Wisconsin people weren't gonna be spending any extra money to eat on the train, right? And it just wasn't a long enough run. So, but they did. Here is the South Shore diners. They had two dining cars for a while before the Depression. And one would start from each end at breakfast, go to the other end, time to set up for lunch, and then dinner. So they made 3 one-way trips every day, each one of those two cars. And I am told by somebody, it's such a great story, I hope it's true. I don't know, but it's too good to be true almost. That when they scrapped these diners, some of the parts were used in stretching those cars, rebuilding them, and we have those stretched cars diners. So maybe we have authentic South Shore dining parts in our cars. So what do you think about that, Department of Revenue? It's related, it's history. We're doing history here. The North Shore line had a dining car, and in the later days, they had the what they called the Tavern Lounge on their electroliner, and that went to the end of service.
Surprise.
Specialty was the Electro Burger, and we have a burger train, and I like to think that's our nod to history to the Electro Burger. Other things we do, here's a Christmas train. Parade train, we do a parade that's kind of based on the Schuster's parade that used to be on the streetcar tracks. We do that every year. We bring Santa Claus down to East Troy for the lighting ceremony. This is one of our Chicago or Milwaukee days where we try to run everything. Here's a night photo shoot picture. Here's another one. Let me skip over these. Well, here's our depot. That used to be the substation, and I'll get back to that. Let me quickly show some of our other, this is our station at the Elegant Farmer. This is our maintenance facility. We have a nice pit. So when you volunteer and do work for us that we would love you to do, in the winter time, it's nice and cozy in there, and you don't have to crawl in the mud to get under the cars. We got a pit.
Plus lunch.
There's our line car. We use it for repairing the overhead and a rolling toolbox and also doing some light plowing. This is a picture of 761 before it was completely restored. Here it is in the maintenance facility being restored, and here is a little group picture of some of us. Let's see, where am I on that? I'm the guy standing in the front door with the red helmet on. This shows some work underneath the car, and here typically, and we got 5 guys watching the guy down in the pit doing work.
Government job, huh?
Learning how to weld, track work. This is probably coming up this time of year. It's my grandson helping us flip seats, my granddaughter throwing the switch. Okay. I was told it might be interesting to have a picture inside the depot showing some of the woodwork in there. Here's one of them. Thanks, Ward, for that picture. This is our ticket counter. Here's another view. And here's another opportunity we have. There's a car, very historic car on the Milwaukee Electric. It was at one point in its career number 200, then it was number 400, then it was number 600. 200, it was a private car for the streetcar guys. Before bags, way early. Then it was sort of a private party car that you could charter. And in its later days, as number 600, It was a hospital car. They thought, oh, we got all these interurbans and they'll be out in places and streetcars and everything. We'll get the ambulance to them, you know, okay. Turned out they had such a great safety record, they hardly used it. So the car somehow got away from them. Okay, well, those are the 4 different incarnations. This is what it looked like as number 600 in its better days. But now here's an opportunity. Woodworkers, here, this is your easy starter project to restore this. That is at least under cover now.
Wow.
Here's another view of it.
Oh.
So,
You're a little late. Nothing was doing this.
yeah, it is, it's covered up, but we hope it isn't gonna get any worse, but it's rapidly,
Must not get worse.
yeah. Okay, well, as the sun sets in the west, there's our dinner train down at the lake. That's.
Belong to the railroad retirement service, and do they get railroad retirement, Brad?
I don't think so. I think that interurbans were kind of upstarts. They were competitors with railroads. But TM took care of they were very, you know, they had an organization and they had all kinds of stuff for them, and car barns had good places to wait between runs and all that, yes.
Could you talk a little bit, since this is the woodworking club guild, could you talk a little bit about the restoration process and what woodworkers would be doing, or how you would look at the car that you just showed them? What are the steps involved, and what would a woodworker be doing in the restoration aspect of it? How would we work with others that aren't woodworkers? So that would probably be really.
Well, I'm guessing that some it's way beyond I don't know anything about woodworking really. But there's just a lot of wood there that needs to be either replaced or.
So when a woodworker comes down, he or she will look at the project and say, I think I need this type of wood. They might do research, or they might be shown where the research would be to see what wood would go on there and how it was originally formed.
You would have that information.
If you want to address that, he looks like he's got.
Okay. Thanks, folks. My name's Jim Fireham. I'm the operations manager, and I'm one of 2 full-time people. So the railroad back in 2019 said that can't do it all volunteers, so they hired me. Last couple of years, we hired a mechanic. That's Joe. We have a very sophisticated, I'm gonna say that, wood shop. It's not like all those machines, but we do have a lot of machines. We have big cabinet, table saw, we've got band saws, we've got drill presses, we got shapers, we got planers. And often what happens, not only in the restoration part, but like you saw South Shore Car 30, South Shore Car 33. All of the interior, when you go in there, you go, whoa, it is very ornate, very nice, and a lot of times that old wood falls apart. Some of it's oak, some of it's walnut, some of it's cherry, some of it's mahogany. The only reason why I know that is I'm a woodworker. And a lot of times what's gonna have to happen is you're gonna have to replicate that piece of molding. Shaper, you know, you might have to take the pattern of it. We forbid those folks that are really good with plastic printers, I call them. I don't even want to give them their proper name. No, we're gonna put real wood. Another thing that we do, we have car 162, which is the North Shore car, which is rough, but we've saved the window frames. We've saved, and so we can take patterns, and they're gonna make it. Car 228, which was a dispatch car. It looks like a box car with electric motors. The whole roof was redone. Well, they had to steam the wood. They had to bend it. They had to make a fixture. They had to, you know, they used the oak strips, bend it, put it in a jig. So there is an awful lot of woodworking to be done. One of the other things is, as I'm sure around here, we like round over corners. We don't just put it together real, square because that can hurt. So we like using routers and round the corners off, just like I'm sure all of you folks do. So there's lots and lots and lots of opportunities for woodworking. But here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna spend a little time with Evan, you're gonna spend a little time with me, and you're gonna take your bride or your significant other or whoever you're trying to date on one of those dinner trains. And guess what's gonna happen, Debbie? We're gonna have you in. It is a lot of fun. It's very diverse. We have people that do woodworking, we have people that do welding, we have people that do conducting, we have people that are good at talking, we have people that operate trains.
These are historians.
So all I'm saying is there's so much, and as he just said, look at all the rich history.
Yeah.
And all of it is in your backyard. And there's stories after stories after stories after stories that I'm sure all of you have had an opportunity to write some of this and to relate to what Evan said. So it is absolutely your lucky night because I have some volunteer applications. All you have to do is fill this out of that, and I'm not taking these up. I'm gonna leave these with you. I'm not gonna be that person that says, you've gotta fill this out tonight. But I'm gonna leave them with
So you're
you.
giving us a way out.
I am giving you a way out. So Tammy, I'm gonna give these to you if you wanna put them where they need to be. Also,
How big is it here compared to the rest of the country?
how big is it here?
Like, as far as us having all these cars and stuff.
We're in the middle there. I mean, you go down to IRM, the Illinois Railway Museum, they're probably the largest one in the country, if not the world, maybe not the world, but they've got Union, Illinois, but they have steam, electric,
Diesel.
and diesel. Here's the trick, folks. This is original. There's only 2 other museums that are on original cars. That's the big deal here. We're preserving history and there's a lot of passion about it. Obviously, you just saw him, and this is very brief. When he said 4 hours, he can do it and he'll keep your attention. Because I've seen it.
What?
No. Anyway, folks, I don't want to take all your time, but I do suggest, and I'm gonna leave some of these right in the middle here. This is our dinner train. We are not the cheapest date, but we're the best. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. And generally, Evan and myself, and sometimes Tammy, are in just about every one of those. I do not look like this. I look like this. But to see me in my conductor's outfit, you're gonna have to come over there.
You can put it on the Facebook.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Nothing.
Oh, that's good.
Where did it go?
We have some calendars that we have. I don't want to take all of you.
I just want to point out on the calendar, the guy operating that, me.
Right, so, yeah, sure.
Do you have plans for these trains or, original plans or any of that kind of stuff? Just curious. The specs, the drawings.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
we got blueprints
And then
and,
that
oh,
kind
yeah.
of stuff is available.
And here's the other thing. Now, I'm more into our mission is make memories that last a life. All right, I got a lot of passion around it, all right? I'm not particular about, okay, when that was originally made, that piece went over this way and it came down 8 inches. I'm like, okay, but if that's their passion, great. And I found that out the hard way. We were working with a restoration team, and we have a super restoration team, and these people are, they restore it back to how it was. And he told me, to put that molding back on the window. Okay, I can do that. Where's the screw? Oh, here's the Phillips screw. Whoa. He came on, he's like, who put this Phillips screw in that molding? I said, I did. He goes, are you crazy? They didn't have Phillips screws in 1930. They had straight blades. So get used to it, folks. I mean, but what I'm saying is there's passion around keeping it right, which we have to be very thankful. And I'm sure all of you, whatever you do in Woodward, whether it's turning, whether you're doing a dovetail, whatever, you are very precise in what you do, and that needs to be applauded. So I guess when you say plans, we have blueprints, yes, and do we look for, yes, that's true.
Could you back up to the picture of the ticket area? More back. There we go. And there's another one too. Okay, what's wrong with this picture?
Too small.
No, 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 no.
Beautiful work doesn't continue.
No, it stops right there. It's just a fascia.
Isn't that sad?
That's
Yeah.
really sad. I took that picture this morning at 7:30 AM. And it's still that way.
Maybe that's less.
Man, would that be cool if we knew some wood
It would.
skilled people, woodworkers, huh? Wow, and could duplicate that facade onto the other side. But
Tammy hasn't done it yet.
well, that's why she wanted us here.
Okay, guys, we're gonna get
So
going.
you never know what may happen. But I do encourage everyone, and I believe I gave some door prizes to Tammy. You never know, it'd be your lucky night and there's a free ride.
Yeah, it's fun.
And if you become a volunteer, you can ride all that. We do strongly suggest that you come out if you want something to do with grandkids or just something to do, please, just come out and take a ride.
All right, thank you. Thank you.